Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
I want to start off by just playing this video, jumping right into it. I'm going to pause it once in a while to make a comment here or there, but overall, the video really speaks for itself, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot from this. So let's listen up.
Gottfried, why not use Ripple's technology to do that?
What a great question right off the bat. Props to her.
Because, well, yeah, we'll have to see. I think what we are seeing...
I like how he says we'll have to see.
We have a long discussion about blockchain versus API. What we could see is the API technology, which is at the heart of what we do with GPI, is here today, and banks are able to integrate it. Blockchain, we think, is further out. We've run a large proof of concept with blockchain to several proof of concepts, I should say. One of them to put it inside the reconciliation between banks, vostro, their account reconciliation between banks.
So a couple quick things. First, he says nostro vostro, which is a specific problem Ripple's been targeting at. He says that we've been testing this, but we still think it's a ways out. This clip was taken back in 2019 timeframe, so it's fair to say that we are likely at a point that Swift could be heavily looking to implement a digital asset, as he describes, that solves the problems that XRP does.
We had 40 banks participate in that. It was the largest hyperledger implementation outside IBM, really big. 500 bilateral relationships on blockchain, 500 individual blockchains being run. When we evaluated it with banks, they said, yeah, it works as a proof of concept, but it's not clear to us that it's that much better than what we have today, given the migration cost. And a lot of it is about the banks themselves who have to migrate and be interoperating with that new platform. We find that for them it's much easier to integrate with APIs and what we're now offering them with GPI than it is with blockchain. So that has been our experience so far, and our 10,000 banks worldwide play a big role in that one. They have.
So first of all, just to put this out there before Brad Garlinghouse talks, it certainly sounds like to me, just based off of what the Swift CEO is saying, blockchain for sure is coming in the future. It's just a matter of time of getting everyone on board. And just based off what he said before Brad Garlinghouse could even chime in, I mean, that was a very bullish statement by him. And just know this was taken back in 2018, 2019, when a lot of the stuff around blockchain technology and cryptocurrency was seen as a lot more risky and a lot more speculative as it is now. Today, it seems like a surefire thing that blockchain will become a significant part of our financial system, and I think it's safe to say that Swift is going to be a big player in the blockchain field.
To be ready for that technology.
Brad, do you want to respond as to why that might not be the case?
Well, I think, the Swift model, we can talk about open APIs, we can talk about open networks, but it isn't. I mean, Swift is it's a Swift-controlled API, and even, I'm complimentary of what GPI has represented in terms of accelerating what has been, a relatively slow process. GPI, I think, is a big step forward, but it's still there's a central database where you're querying a transaction status, and so that's a central operator. I think, Gottfried said, and I'd agree with, decentralized systems, I think over time, as we've seen with things like TCP/IP, are likely to win. And I think that today is not what Swift is. And when we think about how to enable a transaction from a Barclays account to an M-Pesa wallet, mobile wallet,
So boom, Brad Garlinghouse says it perfectly. Fundamentally, they are completely different because Ripple operates on the XRP blockchain, which is completely decentralized. There is no central operator, and a decentralized foundation to a payment system creates infinite interoperability because they don't need Swift to make all these different connections to all these different banks, and each one has to have a different API with Swift, and they have to have engineers on the back end figuring out this and figuring out this. No, all the different banks and everyone who wants to be part of the ecosystem hooks right up to the XRP network, and suddenly, boom, you have instant operability across every single financial institution without any central counterparty. Brad Garlinghouse hits the nail on the head right here, and could not say it any better myself. I could not believe it. You could just look at the Swift CEO right here. He's like, yeah, you got me right there. Let's play the next clip, and Brad Garlinghouse is going to kind of finish off his thought right there. But what a statement, and I hope you guys understand what a game changer Ripple using XRP to facilitate these payments really is.
That when we think about an internet of value, it's not just about the banks, for sure. Yes, it's about regulated institutions, and we're certainly not trying to circumvent those things, but you know, I think it's fundamentally kind of a different view of how the world may play out.
So he's saying Swift is only working with the top institutions in the entire world, top banks. We built a system that works for everyone. Yeah, we want it to be used by the banks. We want it to be used by the biggest financial institutions, but there's no reason normal people shouldn't be allowed in this system.
Yeah, maybe to that, I mean, a big part of the value proposition of Ripple, I think, is the cryptocurrency, the XRP. I think that's another one worthy of debate. There we do find that the banks are also, at least when they talk to us and they tell you different things, they are hesitant to convert things into a currency, a cryptocurrency right now, because of the volatility in the currencies, because of the fact that you don't have the deep liquidity that you have in, for example, the dollar as a clearing unit at the end of the day. So again, when we engage banks, we don't find them ready for a model where you convert it into crypto and then convert it back, and that has to do with many things: regulation, volatility, and all the things that are debated around crypto. But that's a whole separate debate.
This is, well, it's not really a separate debate, because I think there's two important things about this, and Gottfried mentioned this earlier. Swift today is a one-way messaging framework. It actually isn't a liquidity provider, right? It's Swift messaging partnered with bank liquidity. When we think about an internet of value, it's a mixture of two-way messaging frameworks, you know, moving to real-time, a chatty protocol, if you will, coupled with real-time liquidity. And you know, I hear people talk about volatility, and I feel like they're propagating misinformation. The volatility risk of fiat, volatility is just a mathematical calculation of time times volatility. If you hold fiat for, let's say, an average Swift transaction today is in the order of magnitude 2 days, that's about 180,000 seconds. An XRP transaction is 3 seconds. So if you take a low volatile asset times a long duration, fiat, or a high volatility asset versus a very, very short amount of time, it turns out mathematically there's less volatility risk in an XRP transaction than there is in a fiat transaction. The difference is you have market makers. When you do a Swift transaction, there's banks saying, there's a market maker saying, I'll lock in that rate. I'll take the volatility risk for the next 2 or 3 days. With XRP, you don't have to do that because it settles so quickly.
So, once again, what an outstanding statement by Brad Garlinghouse. He points out the obvious problem with what the Swift guy says. He says, oh, I don't know if you need a cryptocurrency. Why do you really need XRP? And Brad Garlinghouse says, because it allows our system to do something that yours could never do. You don't settle any payments. You send a message, and then some bank on the back end takes 2 or 3 days to get the money there, and there's all this counterparty risk because the money's moving slowly, volatility is going up in each currency, you have different banks then lending out the money on top of that, and suddenly no one even can keep track of where the money is. At the end of the day, it's just a messaging system. It doesn't solve the deep liquidity problem that Ripple and XRP solve as a combination. Ripple and XRP settles payments instantaneously. It's done. You have the money, it's yours, boom, done. That does not happen with Swift. And you might be thinking, well, if all that is true, if all that's going on, then why is Swift still the dominant player? Why haven't we seen Ripple and XRP take over? Well, hopefully this last clip answers that question for you. I think this one's a gem. For those of you who are still here, you make sure you stick around for this.
You might still use proof of work.
Ryan and Israel, if you would like to comment on this. Ryan, go ahead.
Proof of work doesn't work.
And this guy works at Ripple.
Proof of work doesn't work.
Ryan,
proof of work doesn't work.
Finish, please.
And in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a whole group of developers that broke off to create other assets, XRP being one of them, that doesn't use mining, that's cheaper from an energy perspective than Visa, and already scales to 1,500 transactions a second. A lot of these problems have already been solved. The challenge for adoption comes back to policy. The policy uncertainty around some of the assets has limited adoption, particularly here in the US. And I'm speaking from Ripple and XRP because we use that asset because it's a half a cent per payment. It's basically free. It scales and it's efficient. 1,500 transactions a second at nearly no energy. So we're at a point today where there are real solutions to all of these challenges that already exist. Policy has become the challenge. And we heard on the first panel that around centralization on China, and it's going to be a hard pill for Peter to swallow. But 80% of the mining power for Bitcoin is controlled by 6 mining pools, 5 of which are in China. Today, the policy certainty in the US exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum, despite the fact those are China-controlled platforms. So activity goes to those platforms. What we need to do from a policy perspective in the US is look at the places where there are uncertainty. And one place, I'm speaking directly for me here, is XRP, where it looks like Bitcoin. It's decentralized, it's open source. We have 7% of the validation power on that, rather small on there. Grouping or giving clarity to those ones that are very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have the same characteristics and should be classified the same way. And then we're creating a level playing field across all the cryptos. I'm not anti-Bitcoin or anti-Ethereum by any means. I think there's a lot of great potential and breakthrough there. But we need to have a level playing field so the market can pick which ones they want to use and not be, as today they are, hindered by regulatory uncertainty.
Isn't it crazy that this came out in 2018, 2019, and they are still talking about the issues we have in the market today? It's an embarrassment to the United States. I cannot wait for when this is over because this makes it more clear than ever. Ripple and XRP are going to be fundamental in transforming our financial system.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.